Capital punishment has been practiced all over the world, also known as the death penalty. In the United States, 31 out of 50 states practice the death penalty. The death penalty has been questioned for many years whether it's right or wrong. In the last 50 years in the United States, 150 people have been exonerated. On average, it took about 11 years for this to happen for those people. I believe that the death penalty should not be practiced based off the research that I've done before I give this speech. The death penalty is wrong and people make mistakes. Today, I'll be sharing the problems caused and possible solution by explaining why I believe the death penalty should be abolished, how it affects people, and an alternative punishment. The death penalty raises a lot of ethical issues because of the fact that it is a very permanent decision and it's giving power to someone else to delegate whether someone should be alive or to die. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, a lot of the reasons why innocent people are put on death row is because of evidence tampering, racial bias, and false eyewitness testimony. The biggest problem with the false eyewitness testimonies is because of the fact that eyewitness testimonies are held up very high in the United States court system. This is a very sad reality because if someone innocent is put on death row and then executed, that person cannot be brought back to life. Also, according to the Why Death Penalty Should Be Abolished article, it states that sometimes when someone is exonerated, they can be tortured by society. This is because of the fact that death row cases are oftentimes very much publicized within the community where it happened, or also if it happened somewhere else and that's where the person is from, it's very much possible for people to know. And if that person is exonerated and they found out later on they were innocent, some people might not believe that they're innocent and they can be tortured because of that. The death penalty doesn't just affect the person that's on death row, but it also affects us taxpayers. The cost of the death penalty differs between state to state because of county budgets. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, since 1978, the taxpayers of California have paid over $4 billion for the death penalty. $2 billion have been spent on pretrials and trials, $925 million on appeals and petitions, $775 million on federal habeas corpus appeals, and $1 billion in incarceration costs. The Commission on Fair Administration of Justice stated that in 2008, the annual cost of the death penalty was $137 billion. They also stated that if these people were given life on parole instead, the annual cost would only be $11.5 billion a year. 50% of death row inmates are either of Black descent or Latino descent, according to the racial bias of U.S. death penalty done by David Love. In 77% of these cases, the victim was of white descent. A study done in North Carolina stated that if a victim is white and the persecutor is someone of a different race, that person that is being persecuted is 3.5 times more likely to receive the death penalty. The state of Texas has the highest number of executions in the United States. Harris County in Texas is the #1 contributor to this number. The last 13 of the Texas's execution rates, or the last 12 of the 13 of the executions in Texas came from Harris County. Amnesty reports reported that 20% of Blacks that are on death row were convicted by an all-white jury. 61% of the 150 people that have been exonerated in the United States since 1973 were people of color. I believe the only good enough alternative to the death penalty would be life on parole. This is because it is the most close enough to give the justice that would be deserved if the person actually did commit the murder. The death penalty has been talked about for plenty of years. Regardless, the death penalty will continue be a very controversial subject, but at the end of the day, I do believe that it should be abolished because we're only humans and people do make mistakes. And if we make the mistake of killing an innocent person, we can't bring that back. So it's best that we just put that person on life on parole. And if they are innocent, they can fight for their life and hopefully be exonerated one day. If you agree with the things that I've stated within this speech, you can go to the website for National Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty and take the pledge. Also, you can get information about things that are happening in your state that are for abolishing the death penalty. I will end this with a quote by Kofi Annan, which states, "Can the state, which represents the whole of society and has the duty of protecting society, fulfill that duty by lowering itself to the level of a murderer and treating him as he treated others? The forfeiture of life is too absolute, too irreversible for one human to inflict it on another, even when backed by legal process." Thank you.